Kyle and Dan with our baseball insiders, CJ Nitkowski on a Friday, the man, the myth, the MLB legend that is CJ. Speaking of legends, Max Scherzer back with the Jays. Now, I don't know, is a player coach, is that allowed? Because essentially that's what this is.
I miss those days, right? Those were fun days of having player coaches. We don't have that anymore. So, though, in a way, he's going to serve a role. He always does. Good veterans pay it forward. And so having Max Scherzer around, yeah, there will be some quote unquote coaching opportunities, but this is more about his ability to pitch. And we'd kind of heard the rumblings, and it sounded like Toronto was going to be a match for him. And he's back, and he's really inexpensive. There's a lot of incentives in his deal, right? It's a $3 million base. But a lot of incentives based on innings pitched. And good to see him back in Toronto. I thought, the best part of this story, I'm sure you guys saw it, was the letter from his daughter.
Yeah.
And while that was really cute, I think it actually speaks to something that is bigger. And we've talked about this before, but something very important for the Toronto Blue Jays, which is that they've made Toronto a destination for Major League players. And to the fact where they put the focus on families, and families are comfortable and they're happy to the point where you have an 8-year-old saying, I had so much fun in Toronto last year. Please, Toronto Blue Jays, bring my dad back so I can have fun there again. Right. That's kind of, that's to me, that's really important. It was a cute little story. It does speak to the great job that the Blue Jays have done. And we've heard enough about it now to know that it's a real thing. But anytime an 8-year-old backs you up, it's validation. So it's good to have him back. Good to have him in that uniform. More depth for the Blue Jays. In the rotation, which everybody needs. We'll see how ultimately it plays out when he's ready. Will they go to a 6-man? A lot of different options here when it comes to his role in the rotation overall. But this is a nice sign for a guy who wanted to be there.
CJ, forgetting for a second the depth he brings and potentially whatever his arm has left for them, he was spoken about so highly by his teammates, by the management staff, upper management, and of course the fan base. Had they not signed him, how much would this clubhouse have lost that was an essential component of the run they went on last year?
That's a good question because it is nearly impossible to quantify, right? You can't put it in wins and losses. You can't put it in another starting pitcher's ERA or what that would mean to the team. But there is something to him. When I covered him with the Rangers and he came over midseason, it was one of those things that everything was going pretty well. And then he got there and you're like, oh, yeah, this is something we were missing. Not just what he was bringing on the field and every fifth day when he would start, but there was something else in the clubhouse. He's got an unbelievable fire, right? Even for a 41-year-old, there's an intensity to him that we don't see all the time. We don't see that often, quite honestly, in our game. And so that would be missed. Again, you can't put a number on it. You can't put a win total, and you certainly can't look at any numbers for the pitchers. So it is hard to say how much would they be missing it, because sometimes you can be going along in the season and using those 2023 Texas Rangers as an example, and you didn't even know you needed it. You didn't even know you missed it. Now, because they experienced it once already, the carryover into this season, that could come up only if things weren't going well, right? You may get to a point if things weren't going well and you'd be like, man, we kind of missed Max Scherzer here. We kind of missed the things he had to say, the fire, him pushing us to bring the best out in every guy. Hopefully the Blue Jays don't have that lull where they're even talking about it because he's there anyway. But it's a weird kind of thing that happens. It exists. It's real, but nobody can really put their finger on what it is and what it means to the bottom line.
These are all professional athletes, but Keegan Matheson, our Jays insider, is remarking on how loose this team is. And last year's team, they were loose. So is bringing Scherzer in kind of the team saying, we need an adult in the room?
I don't think so. We have that conversation a lot when it comes to that with younger teams. Do you need to have a veteran? There's benefits. There's no getting around it. Benefits to having them. But like you said, these guys are all professional athletes. They understand, and they accomplished so much together last year that they should probably have a really good feel of what it's going to take to be able to get back there again. And it's certainly nothing a given, but to get back there again now here in 2026. So I just see it as nothing but a positive benefit. But could the Blue Jays have accomplished what they are setting out to accomplish this year without him? Maybe, possibly. I think they're certainly talented enough to do it. They don't have to wonder anymore what it would be like not having him, but it's nothing but positives.
So how does this rotation shape up now, in your opinion, CJ? They've added this possibly last piece of the puzzle here. They still don't have a very, very strong left-handed starter, but they have a lot of starting pitching now. They've signed a lot. They've retained a lot. How, in your opinion, how does it shape up?
It's a built-in cushion, right? Having Max Scherzer there, we'll see what happens with Shane Bieber. With the forearm fatigue that he is dealing with and how long that actually keeps him out and what that means for how he looks when he gets back. I think it also provides you some protection from a couple of things. Jose Barrios, needing to have that bounce back year. I loved his honesty and the way things went last year, and maybe some of the things that he learned and wasn't proud of the way that he handled, which is very surprising because he's a high character guy, in my opinion, and times that I've talked to him. And then also in Cody Ponce, right? I think these are two guys that potentially need some version of protection. Now, Ponce may be fine. Everything might work out. He's obviously pitching and doing it well overseas in Asia. And getting his innings and getting his starts. But this is him back in the big leagues for the first time, and he had a little bit of a taste, but didn't go particularly well. And so while it's something the Jays believe in when they give him that 3-year deal, it is still, there's a little bit of an unknown there. It's like bringing, quite honestly, a Japanese pitcher over to the States. You're not exactly sure what you're going to get. So this just gets you a little bit deeper. This provides you a little bit more protection. It also allows you to not have to push Max Scherzer. You're not going to get 32 starts out of him, right? You're going to try to be able to use him as much as possible, but as effectively as possible too, and try to keep him right. So I think that's the other thing that kind of sticks out here regarding Max Scherzer and what you anticipate he can bring to the table. So they just get deeper, and it's a good ad. There wasn't much left on the market. They probably needed to have some protection. Now Scherzer provides that.
Have you seen clips of the Tasmanian devil, the human tree trunk, Kaz Okamoto?
That's a good nickname. You think that one's going to stick? I like that one.
Better.
Yeah. Figure out what that is in Japanese, and then I bet you they run with it. Yeah, so I have, and really impressive so far. Two things that stick out. I haven't seen him much defensively, but what I saw offensively that stuck out was the home run that he hit the center field against Clay Holmes. And he did it against a pretty good breaking ball that was down and away, and he hit that ball out to center field. So that's an encouraging sign, right? We know that he's got good power. Clay Holmes has got a good breaking ball. The way that he stayed honest, I thought when I first saw it, he caught it off the end of the bat a little bit. He clearly did not. He powered that thing out to center field. And then one of the 2 doubles that he's had this year was turning around high velocity, which is something that is always a question for hitters when they come over from Asia. A little bit more so in Korea than for the Japanese guys, but they just don't see the consistency of high velocity that you have here in the States. So to watch him turn around 96, to get the barrel on it, but to get it to the pull side, I think is also a really encouraging sign. So 9 at-bats, it's 4 games. You don't want to overthink it. But those were 2 things. When you have some success early on, you're going to look, you're going to see what sticks out. And for me, those were the 2 things that stuck out with Okamoto.
The massive congregation of Japanese media following and documenting his every move right now, does that give him a bit of an advantage going on to a team that was so close to winning a World Series that will have a lot of attention on them this year? Because it's like spring training for dealing with the press.
It's different for sure. I think for the Japanese guys, they're used to it. They really are. And once they start kind of, the media is really big over there when you consider the size of the country and the amount of teams. And I think I told you the story before, but after taking a 24-hour flight to get over there when I played there, we landed, and at that time this was relevant, but we got kind of the Britney Spears treatment. Like, it was unbelievable walking out of customs and the amount of cameras that were there, just taking pictures. All 4 of the foreigners were on the same flight. It was crazy. And then you see it throughout the year. Yeah.
Just to cut you off for a second, CJ, I want to ask though, like the attention he's getting here, is that normal day to day for him in Japan while he was there, or is it only now? Oh, it really every day there too is wow.
Yeah, I mean, certainly there's a little bit more here early on. What you'll probably see, and very likely, is that some of that will fade, right? So you have the early reports that are going out, but there are going to be reporters that have been given jobs just to track him and follow him all year long. It happens all the time. Now there's more Japanese players, so maybe they get a little bit thinned out, but the early stuff for sure, because they want to get him in a Blue Jays uniform. They want to get the action, and in a way they're introducing the Toronto Blue Jays to the Japanese market, not just him, but the teammates that he has interactions with, all those kind of early stories. It probably gets pared down a little bit as the season goes on as far as tracking, but it'll still be a really big group. So, but these guys are used to it. You look at games there, the amount of photographers that are up and down the line and the attention that they get. These guys are used to it, so that I'm not worried about that for him. And it kind of becomes a little fun side thing for his teammates as well, for his non-Japanese teammates, because there is this whole new group of media, and generally they're really kind and they're fun, and you try to, you play a little charades and trying to work through the language and have conversations, because there is this whole new group now that is traveling or at least showing up at these games with these players. So I think everybody benefits.
And they have a brand new angle adjusting to life in Canada.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're exactly right. And again, you're introducing not just the players and the fan base, but then also life in Canada, which for the Blue Jays only helps them, right? Every team would like to be in the market for a couple different reasons. One, there certainly is money to be made. Nobody's going to do what Shohei Ohtani does, but there's money to be made when you get into that Japanese market. But then it's also introducing MPB and their players to the Toronto Blue Jays, and there's no better time to do that, right? I mean, after going to a World Series, all the amenities that they have right now for players, right, in the Rogers Center, in spring training, the Blue Jays have done an excellent job. This is basically coverage that they don't have to pay for, that MPP players are going to now be aware of. Which is like, oh, Toronto, like maybe I thought about it, maybe I haven't, but wow, look at that clubhouse, look at that spring training facility. These are the kind of things that are going to be a draw that should help them going forward.
Personally, I would give anything to watch an interview of Vladdy Guerrero on Japanese language TV.
Oh,
That would be an absolute.
they're going to
That
love
would be
him.
an
It's
absolute
going to
Oh,
blast.
yeah.
Yeah,
They're going to love him.
they're going to love him, and that's the other thing. That's the residual effect of that too. This team will literally become big in Japan because of the strength of
Mhm.
the personalities in the clubhouse. How do you feel this team's going to fare this season, adjusting to life after Bo Bichette?
Yeah, it's tough. You hate seeing your buddy leave, especially one that has been so impactful. Obviously, now with Okamoto playing third, Jimenez playing short, it's really about second base, right? Even though that wasn't his position for me, it seems like, okay, how do we fill this thing over at second base? And there's plenty of candidates. Certainly, I think Ernie Clement is an easy one. The other flip side of that, though, too, is what the lineup construction looks like. That is probably the bigger one, certainly for John Schneider, thinking about how this lineup is going to be constructed without him. Because even though, yes, there's different guys in different positions now that you feel pretty decent about, nobody's going to be able to replace him from the bat side. And so we've seen Dalton Varsho right now get some opportunities batting second. He's never been a high on base guy, but we know he could be a pretty good hitter. There's some damage in that bat as well. We'll see if that ends up holding. The two position has become more important, I think, in a baseball lineup than ever. And when you had the high batting average with the potential to slug from Bo Bichette, there's a reason he gets this monster contract that he gets from the New York Mets, because it's just hard to get both of those types of things. So I think personality-wise in the clubhouse, you get over it, man. Players do move on. They miss their buddies for sure, but you move on and you're focused on the task at hand. It becomes, for me, more about how the offense works, quite honestly, and having that right. It was a big deal last year. I know they lost him for a good chunk of the end of the season. We didn't have the same Bo Bichette in the postseason, but they're used to having him there. And in that two spot, Dalton Varsho hasn't done it a lot. It seems like so far early on, he is the guy that's going to get those looks, at least against right-handed pitching. That's going to be the bigger void that we're going to get a feel for as the season starts off, how much they really do miss him.
And here's what I see happening. It's already started. Jays fans were first like, screw that guy. But now it's like your friend goes off to another camp. Well, you're at camp with all your buddies having fun, and you keep seeing updates on your friend. He's made no new friends. It's not going well. So you're like, we feel bad for the guy, because that's what we're seeing out of Mets camp is him botching balls. I know they're not getting the whole fielding drills and him getting 99 out of the 100 balls, but we're starting to feel some empathy. Oh, that poor guy.
Yeah, it's a lot. Listen, first time doesn't matter who you are and how big of a star you are. The first time you go to a new organization, there's a lot there. First of all, again, it's a huge contract. There's opt-outs there, but it's big money. We've seen these shorter-term, higher AAV deals get to some pretty crazy places. So you have that. Then when you walk in, again, I don't care who you are. You want to make early first impressions, right? You want to make sure that, you get along with everybody, but also once you get out on the field, they know who he is as a player, but you still want to show up and have some impact early on. And this is a different kind of fan base, right? It's not just that it's a big market in New York, it's the Mets. And there's always drama surrounding the New York Mets. There's going to be exaggeration, like you said. You sit there and you take a botched ground ball in practice, and everyone's like, "Oh, what do we do this for? Our season's over." Right? That's just how they think in Queens. It's just kind of the way that it goes. I spent a couple of years going to college in the shadows of Old Shea Stadium, and have a pretty good feel for how that fan base operates. That will continue. That's not going to change throughout the year. Just early on, he's feeling it, and he's also trying to learn a new position. Right? And that is also a really difficult thing to do, even though he's been on the left side of the infield. This is not the same. Now, there's been a lot of players that have done it, that have gone from short and have been very successful over at third. Cal Ripken Jr. Did it. Alex Rodriguez did it. Manny Machado was a shortstop coming up through the system. Alex Bregman was a shortstop coming out of college. Nolan Arenado. Like, these are really good third basemen that were shortstops to start their careers in one facet or another. So he'll be able to do it. I know he wasn't a great defender, but he'll be able to do it. But there is going to be a little bit of trial and error. There's going to be some mistakes. He's going to make some errors this year. And I would just say, as a Blue Jays fan, don't let that make you feel better when a guy fails.
But the Mets move him to third, and the Jays were probably going to put him at second.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I know. That would have been an easier transition. I agree. 100%. It's asking a lot. That is a big chance. And the irony there for the New York Mets is that for anyone that had been following their offseason, they made some big changes early. And the discussion was we have got to be better defensively. Run prevention is the key. And now their third baseman and their first baseman are playing positions they've never played. And that is going to be incredible to watch to see how that plays out.
But that is New York Mets baseball to a T.
Yeah, why not?
I have a statistical note about Max Scherzer for both of you guys.
Okay,
if he gets 45 strikeouts this year, he will move into 9th place all time, cracking the top 10, passing Walter Johnson and Gaylord Perry. And I'm guessing that if you crack the top 10 in strikeouts now, you could be there forever based on the way pitching has changed in baseball, because guys just don't strike out 300 batters a year anymore.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And they don't have the length of careers that guys like Max Scherzer have, right? That's the other part of it, is that the careers are getting shorter and shorter. So while there is more swing and miss, it's because these pitchers are going harder than they ever have. Right? You go back and you watch, Gaylord Perry is probably not the greatest example. You go back and watch, some older guys, and it just seems like they're in third gear until every once in a while where they got to kick it up to fifth gear. Where right now in the big leagues, it's fifth gear from the first pitch of the game. And that's why guys get hurt. And it's why they have the hard time having the longer careers. But Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, these guys are a rare breed going forward. I'm with you, Chris Sale. Another one, even though he's dealt with some significant injuries, we have him here in Atlanta. It's just going to be hard to pitch into your upper 30s and still be a good strikeout pitcher. So you're right. There was a time period where home runs and strikeouts, we started seeing some of those records get changed pretty significantly. And I think it probably now sits still for a little while, and it'll be harder to crack those top 10s.
Max Scherzer was a coworker of CJ and I's during one postseason run at Fox. So, CJ, did you get to know him at all during that time? Did you ever work with him on the show?
I did not. The first time, actually, I think I had a conversation with him was when he got to, at least in person, was when he got to Texas in 23. So I don't think I wasn't there or I wasn't invited. Probably sounds like more like the case when he was there working with us with Fox. So no,
It was a wild time. Yeah, we had A-Rod walking around, Pete Rose, Frank Thomas, Gabe Kapler.
Yep, Party City. It sounds like I did a couple things with Alex early on, but I'm guessing was Scherzer doing it for the World Series then?
Yeah,
probably. Yeah, so that's when I get pushed out of the side for those rounds.
You were on first round.
I was like, you can do the wild card round, but that's going to be it. Yeah. Wild card
CJ,
guy.
I want to quickly ask you, World Baseball Classic starts in just under a week now. What's the hype like down there? I know there's, I think, about 11 Blue Jays heading to the tournament. Is it getting a lot of press? Because up here in Canada, there's been a recent hockey tournament that we're still talking about here and there. We're not too big on the WBC yet, but I'm sure we will get into that a little bit next week.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It always is, and it's gotten better and better each year. There is a lot of hype surrounding it. Right away out of the chute, guys like Sandy Alcantara are going to be pitching against Venezuelan to Dominican-Venezuelan game, right? That's going to be incredible to watch. Paul Skeens is going to make a couple of starts. Tarek Skubal is going to get a start in there. This tournament is really well run. It's fun. I think my favorite part of this is for all baseball fans to start to get a feel for how other fan bases watch the game and how they celebrate the game, right? I think that's one of the cool gifts. So as an example, I know we've seen it already, but this Dominican-Venezuela game in Miami, probably the biggest crowd they're going to have in Miami all year, right? It's certainly going to be the loudest. It's one of those things that the WBC in Miami for certain matchups draws better than the Marlins ever will, or at least so is right now until they start to get a little bit better. So that's a real fun part. Then you get the emerging markets, the ones that are barely there, they're advancing. Like, Great Britain is going to face Tarek Skubal. I'm like, dude, you got to pitch. Like, that's the game you got to pitch. Like, that doesn't seem right. You know what I mean? Like, Jazz Chisholm will be on that team, but there's not very many other big leaguers and not a lot of names. And so you get that part of it where it almost feels unfair. But they sign up for it because and Major League Baseball loves it because these are more markets that they're trying to spread the game to, and some of these international teams are starting to grow. But there's going to be some beatdowns too, for sure, with some really good big league pitchers against some lighter lineups. But it's always fun. It's always well done.
No one's keeping track because I searched how many players that were unsigned playing in the World Baseball Classic got signed or discovered by a major league team, and no one's keeping track of that. But it has to have happened.
Peter Moylan, who had a long career with the Atlanta Braves and now works with us on the television side from Australia. I mean, the WBC kind of put him on the map And you're absolutely right. It does happen, and leads to some big league careers, or at least leads to guys getting opportunities in affiliated baseball. There will be some guys that are either playing in their home countries, they're playing independent ball, maybe never had that chance to play professionally, that might get that look. It also helps, quite honestly, some guys that may be trying to get over to Asia, helps out. Like, certainly if you're kind of a borderline guy for a type of player, but you're playing on a certain country's team, and you have some success, then there's other opportunities as well to play in some leagues that pay pretty well. So a lot of different things open up in this, but it's always fun. And I think I may have told you this before, but there's a lot at stake for Team Korea. And Team Korea has mandatory military service of 2 years. But if you win an Olympic gold medal, or now if you win the WBC, you're exempt from military service. So they're probably playing. They got the biggest at stake.
I just love the idea of some guy with a 9-to-5 desk job going up to bat
Yeah.
against Eric Skubal.
Yeah. And then every once in a while, like, something happens, right? Like, there's a base hit, or you get this, like, 5'8" guy throwing 75 miles an hour, and he's facing Aaron Judge.
Scoreless.
Yeah,
he
it's
just
awesome.
Scoreless randomly because they're not used to hitting BP level pitching at games.
That's right.
Yeah. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep. Can't wait.
Let's have a great weekend, boys.
Let's do it.
Thanks, CJ.
See you guys.